This is Nisha Mainon. She launched an import-export business, and within 1 year she did over $100,000 in sales. Most people struggle to hit these numbers when they first get started, but against all odds, Nisha was able to do it. And lucky for me, I was given exactly 32 minutes to ask her exactly how she did it and how she avoided all the key mistakes most people make when starting an import and export business. Here is the exclusive interview. Thank you so much, Nisha, for jumping on this interview today. I really appreciate it. But to jump straight into it, one of the first questions I want to ask is, how do you find genuine buyers as an exporter?
Okay, yeah. Firstly, thank you very much, Yash, for having me today and inviting me to your interview as well. More than happy to share, as much as I know and as much as I can share from my experience. So, with regards to buyers, I would say because I was mostly, based in the UK, so my experience would be more of an importer side of experience, So, but I'm assuming you are meaning for the exporters side of things as well. So I'll maybe give you an idea of both the sides. So because I was based in the UK, I did all my local research and went to the shops and understood who are the suppliers or who are the wholesalers or the distributors who are supplying to these shops. And that's
Yeah.
how I understood all the local market within the UK. But I understand when you are based abroad and you want to export your products out of the country, it's going to be more complicated and it's going to be very, very tough as well.
Well, let's just
So
start with that then. So let's start with your experience, right? Because you mostly were importing stuff from India and selling it there. So with Jack and Chill, and your other brand, you had to find buyers in the local market. So what was step number one for you?
yeah. So step number one, as everybody knows, Google. That's the guru for for searching, isn't it? So I went on to Google and searched for importers of samosa, importers of Indian frozen food products, importers of jackfruit based products, or you could even use different key terms as in wholesalers, distributors, stockists. So you use different keywords, and then you'll come up with a search of these different companies or different organizations that do all these, and then you do your cold calling. So that was the most, I would say, I did it. So on top of that, what I also did was I used to walk into the local shops where I would say my potential customers or target customers, I would say, because you all have an idea of where you want to sell your products, and it could be the Indian shops, it could be the I don't know the premium shops, or it could be the Whole Foods market. So those kind of things, you walk into your potential shops where you want to sell your product, look at your competitors product, and that's what I did. Always see what the competitors are doing and learn from that. So see what the competitors are doing, who is selling those products to these shops. Again, try to build up a relationship with the shopkeeper, and this is what I used to do as well. Pretend as if you are a customer to begin with, buy a few of the products from the shops, and you start building up that rapport with them, and then you check what are the things on the aisle. I used to go and ask them, oh, so you don't have this type of samosa? I'm just trying to see if there is a gap in the market. Okay. And then you see, this is one of the tips which I have shared on my YouTube video as well, which again came from personal experience. I used to initially use ask the shopkeeper who supplies these products to you, who's your distributor, or who's a wholesaler, and then most of the time you'll get a name who is a local distributor for many of those brands. The other way was you check the back of the pack of these products where you'll see who is the importer, which company is the importer, and they'll have the full contact details. That's the other way I found my potential customers again. So they sell these kind of products, and for me it was frozen samosa or jackfruit. They sell these kind of products, so they can stock your kind of product as well. So those were the two main, I would say the cost-free ways where
Yeah.
I found out. Then we had exhibitions as well. So, so I used to initially go as visitors to these exhibitions because you can't afford putting up a proper stand, paying thousands and thousands of pounds in your initial days. And for Jack and Chill, I did start putting up stand, but not for Nikasu. And so, yeah, go there as a visitor and speak to the people coming there who you see as your potential customer, and then again get connections from them.
Okay.
And for exporters, I would say the main advice I would give is please take support from the government agencies in your country. Example, in India, you've got several, like you've got Chamber of Commerce, and you've got the Indian High Commission or the embassies of those countries. You've got the Export Promotion Council. So they all, like Export Promotion Council, again, if you're supplying cashew, you've got cashew specific Export Promotion Council. Leather products, apparel, or chemicals, pharmacy. You've got different export promotion council who will be, really, really, they'll be helpful for you to support with the exports. And again, speak to the Indian High Commission. They might have those list of distributors, wholesalers, people who are importing into those specific countries. So take the support of the government organizations in your country, and most of the time, they would even provide you a list, or they could even recommend you your name to the, let's say in UK, if they've got a, I would say like British Frozen Food Federation, if you've got, who's a list of distributors and wholesalers, they could even put your name up there. So, take the support of the government agencies for sure as an exporter.
And going back to when you started cold calling people, was it quite hard to start doing that?
Of course, of course. Not just in the starting, I would say even still to make that cold call, because you get so many spam call these days.
Yeah.
And to need to sell insurance and many, many things. So cold calling is never ever easy. So you have to try to kind of understand the customer, research the customer. Just don't go and make your cold call without knowing what the customer does. And that could ruin your chance there, I would
Right.
say.
When you
Try to
research them, what do you look for?
So when you say, let's say I'm trying to speak to a distributor, what I would do is I'll go to their website and see what are the kind of products they are selling, and does it match with the products which I want to sell. Obviously, then the question would be, okay, I already am selling samosa, why should I buy your products? So that can be a rejection you could face. So you need to try and find out your USP. Why should they be buying your product? Always we need to, when we are selling a product, it's always about us. You just want to sell your product. You need to think from their point of view. Why should they be buying your product? There should be a reason that you need to give them. And then you need to try to understand who are their existing customers. So then, again, you'll try to know, okay, how long have they been in the market? So what is the kind of price point they are selling at? Is it premium? Is it average? So you try to do your research of the things that you want them to be doing, and maybe understand what price they might be getting it at. Do they get the products from India? So all those kind of things. And then do your pitch or the call.
And with these cold calls, I'm sure you sometimes got objections, right? So what were the key things that people would say that would sometimes push you away?
For me, I think the biggest objection I faced, just not in the cold call, even when I used to walk into shops, was because mine was frozen product. They
Mm.
used to say, "Oh, sorry, we don't have freezer space." That's the most common objection I used to face. And initial days, I used to take it personally, because it is your initial days. You're just trying it out of the market, and then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, he doesn't like me." You take everything personally.
Yeah.
Then, but later on, I thought, okay, so this is a rejection I'm facing. How do I prepare myself for that? Or how do I overcome that? So I started thinking, because it repeatedly came in. Then
Yeah.
I thought, okay, there were different methods. Like there were companies who provide their own freezer, where you provide your own freezer, you put your own products there. That is it. That was one thing which I came across, because you need to understand how the other companies are dealing with it. The other way could be the shopkeepers, end of the day, they want higher margins. So if you say, if they are giving you 20%, I can give you 25% or 30% margin, they would take your product. So, so you need to think of what are the ways you could tackle those rejections.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah,
basically thinking on your feet, right? Like thinking a bit differently. And I guess they
correct.
don't teach that at school. Okay, cool. So, going off like challenges and stuff, when you were running your business or even starting it, what would you say was the biggest bottleneck, the biggest challenge starting it?
Um, when I started the business, although my dad has been running it in India for several years, over 20 years, when I set up in the UK, for me, when I set up my business in the UK, I knew nothing about the rules and regulations of importing into the UK. And as you can imagine, setting up a business itself is complicated. And then importing across one country to the other was more challenging. So I knew nothing, and I did not know where to start. So initially, what I used to do was I used to attend these HMRC webinars, and the local webinars that comes up. And so I used to start building up my knowledge about import export and all these webinars. They used to, again, HMRC here is very helpful as well. So I started building up my knowledge around import export area, start going for networking events, anything related to import export. You can go to Eventbrite and several places and search for all these events. That is how I started collecting my knowledge around those. The initial challenge was I did not know what were the rules and regulations if I set up my office, especially food business. I know what is the compliance requirements. Will I be inspected by the council? What food hygiene label do I have to have? So those kind of things, because it's a bit more complicated with food. And the other main challenge, which I keep talking in my video again, was which I have had a very expensive learning in my initial days as well, that you need to check if there is any restricted products or banned products which from the country you are exporting from or importing from, because it can cost you a lot. So just to give you an example, as I said, my expensive learning. So in my initial days, one of my distributors said, can you import, do you know Complan, Bonvita, so those milk,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
like Nesquik, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Nesquik, yeah, yeah.
yeah, so he wanted pallets and pallets because he was a distributor, wholesaler. He had many products, and one of the products he told me to import was this Complan, and I imported without knowing, that I had to check all these ingredients specifically in detail. It came to the port, and they said this product cannot enter the UK. And then I was like, why? Because it has got milk solids. It was even only like less than 5% milk solids as a content. I never expected to have milk inside this, in the powder. And milk from India is banned into the UK. And
Wow.
they said, you either have to send this back to India or you'll have to dispose it off in the UK at your own cost, which will cost me thousands and thousands of pounds either
I,
ways.
how much was the stock?
That's what I think. I had three pallets, 3 or 4 pallets.
Okay.
So it was very expensive for me to send it back to India. Again, shipping is not, it's not cheap.
Yeah, yeah,
Dispose it off in the UK. I think it cost me at least £2,000 or something that time. This was at least 10, 12 years ago.
So you imported
So
it, you already paid for it?
yeah,
Oh wow. So how much does the stock cost to like import it in? Like the
because
cost of
it's
the
my
goods.
own factory,
Okay.
they gave me a reduced price, but obviously they got affected because for them it was supplied in India.
Yeah.
So, my factory didn't charge me. They just charged me the minimal cost. But for me, the most expensive thing was paying those £2,000 here in the UK just to dispose it off.
Yeah, complete waste. That's crazy.
Exactly. And
Wow.
that is why I keep emphasizing on the fact that you need to realize or you need to research the product that you import, not just the whole product. You need to look into the details, the ingredients of the product, if there is any restrictions in the UK market, because that can cost you a lot. Like if you say, I don't know, for food products, milk is one of the biggest ones. I would say if it's for clothing, I've told many of my consultation clients as well, like if you have wool, it depends on the percentage of wool, you might need some extra certifications. So those kind of things, that is something which you need to really, really understand.
Sounds like there's been a lot of challenges growing your business and also starting it. So what made you like get into this? What was the thing that made you think, okay, I wanna do import export?
So to be honest, my career path has been, a lot with a lot of changes. So I did my, believe it or not, I did my graduation in medical microbiology. So coming from a science background, and then I got a job in sales, which is again unexpected, and that's how I started getting the taste of selling to people, and I started liking it. And then I came to the UK. I was working with British Telecom and one of the Nestle leading vending companies in London, which again I was enjoying. But after my kids were born, is when I thought, I needed more flexibility. So that's when I thought, and again, seeing the inside out of business from my dad, it's not always outside, everything good, isn't it? I was like, I never ever want to get into business. That's what my mentality was. But after my kids were born is when I thought I want to flexibility around my family, and then I set up Nikasu in 2007. And then Jack and Chill, personally, it was registered in 2019. That is because I wanted to show everyone how versatile jackfruit can be, because I come from Kerala, which is the land of jackfruits. And there we have all, from my grandma's recipes, it's a very clean label product. But here, when I see the burgers and everything with so many binding agents and additives, and if you see the number of ingredients, all chemical names. So I was like very passionate to show people how clean products you can have using jackfruit, and how versatile it can be for the for the meat eaters or the vegan consumers. And that was my passion behind launching Jack and Chill as a brand.
You mentioned that your father runs a factory in India. So what kind of things did you see when he was running his business that almost scared you off from starting a business?
So I think one of the big things which I can really remember is we used to be contract manufacturers for one of the leading Indian brands in the 90s, leading Indian brands in the UK. And so we used to supply to Asda, Tesco, Sainsbury's, all the big supermarkets. So it was a, yearly, for years and years, it was a contract manufacturing going on. And that was our biggest client as well. What happened sometime was, even if one, let's say they order container loads of products, and even if one samosa was broken, they might reject the entire container. So
Wow.
obviously it's, around 20, 25, 30K of products in the container. And so I used to see the struggle from this side, especially when you're abroad on the phone, trying to negotiate and convince a customer and saying it was just a few products. And we don't know when you're abroad what's the actual reality. So whether it was actually broken or not, you don't know whether the product was actually damaged, or are they just playing around with us. So I used to see those struggles as an international customer, where you can't really know what's happening the other side of the world. And sometimes it could be, expensive learnings that you have. And I thought, oh my God, this is really stressful.
So in that example, right, like one samosa out of, I don't know, a whole 25,000 kilos or whatever, right? How would how would you remedy that? Would you just take it back to the factory and check everything again and then send it off? Or like how
No,
would you
we
remedy
can't.
that?
We can't take it back to the factory, isn't it? Because it takes 1.5 months or 1 month for the ship to leave the factory.
You're
And
working
we
domestically though, right? You're working within, you're selling to Indian supermarkets, right?
no, this was export, I'm saying.
Oh,
This was
wow.
export.
Okay.
Yeah, UK
Crazy.
market. Yeah, UK.
Wow.
They supply to UK, USA, Australia, Middle East. So this is export market. And
Okay.
once it reaches the destination country, they say, oh, the product is damaged. Obviously, sitting miles and miles away, you don't know what's the reality.
So do you
So
resell it to other try and move it to other companies at a discount? Like what do you do in those instances
no, we
where
might
it
have
gets
to give a
rejected?
discount to that particular customer. So
Okay.
we'll negotiate, and we'll try to give a discount and then adjust it in the next invoice, or something like that. So those are the
But
ways that would come.
but if the margins are quite slim on wholesale goods, right? So do you lose your margin on that whole
Yeah,
container or?
of course you would. You would.
Wow, okay. That's
Yeah.
crazy. It makes it a whole waste of time just for that one shipment.
I think it's all part of business. You'll face many challenges across this, and then you take it as learnings. And again you might make a profit on some other product, because it could be one product that's damaged, and you might make a profit on some other product. So because there might be different pricing for different products.
See, it's not all rainbows and sunshines, is it?
No.
Okay, so you spoke about the import-export procedure and how that's different and how you have to do research. Is there anyone in particular someone can speak to in, a company, or they can go to maybe the government and they can help them out? Like, how do you get access to all the import-export procedure? Because it's not easy information to get hold of, right?
No. So, I wouldn't say anybody particular because I've used, I've spoken to, as I said, as many people as I come across. And I would say as well, whenever you network, and I would say just keep asking your questions to whoever you come across in this field, because you might get those nuggets of wisdom from, the small, small things that you'll get. For me, I think the biggest people who I've relied on is freight forwarders, because they have been, they've helped me with the paperwork and any kind of restrictions. And so that was one thing which I did not get involved too much, where,
Yeah.
and I would advise everyone to use a freight forwarder as well for dealing with all these customs procedures. And even they can help you with the local delivery or the logistics as well, even shipping, they can give you. So, yeah.
And with the freight forwarders, have you found that some are helpful and some are not? Because I've worked with some freight forwarders and usually they're not always on your side, or they're not really there to support you with everything. They just want your load, and they'll charge you the rate, and then if it ends up at customs and it gets rejected. Well, you lost all your margin, right?
Yeah, thankfully, I haven't had any bad experience with freight forwarders. So, in fact, I have a good freight forwarder who has helped me out with all these 15 years, and so I've always, went ahead with them, and I keep recommending their name to whoever comes up and asks me for a freight forwarder as well. So, yeah, I know. Thankfully, I haven't had a bad experience with a freight forwarder. So, what I used to do is, again, for my knowledge as well, I used to go to the gov.uk website, trade tariff gov.uk website, and understand. For my understanding, I used to kind of get an idea of what are the trade, what are the customs duty or the levy that could come upon your product. So you kind of have an idea.
Yeah.
And there have been a couple of mistakes here and there when they submit the products, because end of the day, your product. So, so if I see that the code which they have submitted is doesn't match with what my actual product is, then I tell them, actually, this more matches with what is this one. And then what happens is HMRC, again, we could inform them that this was a mistake and you can change it later on. So if you owe them or if they owe you, you can pay it either ways. So, yeah, small tiny mistakes has happened a couple of times when they submit
And has
yeah.
anything like really crazy happened? Like, I'm sure you've seen some interesting things in your time as a business owner, right?
What would you mean? Sorry.
Like
Uh,
just crazy, like crazy stories where I don't know, you've closed like a really big deal, or for
oh,
example, because these things don't happen overnight, right? Like sometimes things, like really great things, just happen, but they don't usually happen straight away.
yeah, I think for me, two highlights, maybe two main highlights which I can think for Jack and Chill business would be, first is was getting the contract with TGIF and Frankie and Benny's in my first year, and then again listing with Planet Organic Whole Foods Market, like around 250 stores or something in the first month. So that was my biggest achievement, I would say, as soon as we launched Jack and Chill in 2019, because we launched in Veganuary. You might know, in January they call it Veganuary because they
Oh,
all,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
they January. If you know, people pledge, around in the UK, more than 100,000 or 200,000 people, they pledge to take a vegan diet in January. And so that is the month we launched our products, because ours is into the vegan category and the sales was really good.
So
So,
wait, so you're saying that when you launch your brand just straight away, you were able to get great results and just start making sales?
yes, because
Or
that
is it?
month was Veganuary, and
Oh, okay.
yeah,
That's
and
very smart.
yeah. So that's why every year I thought whenever we bring new products, I always plan to launch it in that month in January, because that's
Right.
the month where the sales would boost. Because everybody, the sales of vegan products are very high in that month, and
I guess with all of your experience beforehand, you probably wouldn't have been as savvy to close like really big deals straight away, right? I assume that took some experience to suddenly, bring a product into UK and then launch
oh,
it and do quite well. I'm sure all that experience, selling other products, importing them, that kind of paved the way to your fast success for Jack and Chill, right?
Yeah, exactly. And especially again with speaking to negotiate, so speaking with the buyers, and you try to understand how to speak with them, how to negotiate with them. So you learn over these, many years. I think by then I had over 10 years by then, by the time I launched Jack and Chill. So again, TGIF and Frankenbenny was one of the biggest customers we had. The other highlight was getting to pitch to Holland and Barrett and winning the pitch, because there were around 350 applications where we had to apply for pitching to Holland and Barrett live at the exhibition. And three of us were shortlisted from those applications to come and pitch live on the stage, where you'll be grilled with the questions like how you have Dragon's Den. And I won the pitch that day, and they invited me to the head office, and they said, we list your products in 600 stores. And
Wow.
that day, I still remember when I walked out of that head office, it's like my dream come true. But unfortunately, it didn't go ahead because they asked for massive margins and penny sales, and which was not affordable for us as a startup small brand. So we had to walk away from that sales. But I think those would be, if I just think now, those would be like my biggest highlights for Jack and Chill. So, getting these customers and experiences as well, were
So
learned.
you did 100K in sales in the first year. What was like the highest that you guys got to in terms of revenue?
So yeah, just under 100K, and that was thanks to this manufacturer who supplies to TGIF and Frankenpennies. They used to just take jackfruit as an ingredient, bulk 10 kilo pack, so very low cost for us. And we just have to pack it in 10 kilo bulk pack and then supply to them. They were planning to make jackfruit sausages for the pub chains. And they were the biggest customers we had that time. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. That's cool. Okay. I think I've asked predominantly most of the questions that I have. But the one thing that I was thinking about that was quite interesting is you do a lot of consulting work, right? So a lot of people come to you, they ask some questions, and you see a lot of beginners trying to get into import and export, right? So what would you say is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make when they come to you?
I think, and this is something which I keep telling them as well. I think the main some questions that I keep getting asked is, "Oh, what are the best selling products in the UK?" And and what I tell them is, you can't just say, we can say, okay, we can sell pharmaceutical products, you can sell food products, clothing, but you need to do your own research, and you need to understand why you need to sell those products as well. So you need to, so they, without doing any research of the market you want to sell your products, you will not be able to sell your products. So I would say the biggest advice is, if you want to sell your products or export your products, do your research in that country where you want to sell your products to. See if there is a market for your products, or see if there is a gap in that product. Use your contacts maybe in that country and try to find out what kind of shops, or what are the potential customers, what's the price point, is it affordable for you to pay all the shipping charges, the duty, the levy, the VAT, the local transport, the customs duty. After all that, will you be able to sell it at that £2 or £3, or whatever it is? So you need to understand, is that a viable thing for you to do? So yeah, the main thing is, do your research and understand if there is a market. Secondly, price wise, is it okay for you to export and sell it in the country where you want to? Because these days it has become very, very, very expensive to export.
Yeah,
So
especially with the rising costs and everything, right?
yeah, yeah.
I have one question that's I think is quite interesting. It's a theory I have, which is, do you think it's even right for people to sell very commoditized products that aren't niche, right? Because I have a theory that if you try and get into the standard products that everyone's trying to import, that you're not going to be able to compete with the bigger companies, right? So isn't it better to take the route that you took, which is, very niche products like jackfruit products, or kind of like a new thing that has a potential to have volume, rather than trying to sell like cashew nuts, just raw cashew nuts, right?
Yeah, I know. And what they call, those kind of products, what they call here in the UK is Me Too products. So, like Me Too again. So don't come and that's a language the buyers use here. So
Okay.
don't come with another Me Too product. So because they're like, you've got hundreds of them in the shelf. This I used to face as a rejection in my initial days with samosas. because there used to be so many top, like Haldirams, we've got top brands who sell samosas. They'll
Yeah.
be like, why should I buy your products, your samosa? That's when I had to think, how is my samosa going to be different to theirs? So you need to have some other strategy, or find, maybe tweak your product slightly, have a small change in your product, and then try to find out a gap. Now it's more getting into those healthy eating. So there are lots and lots of, millets is getting very popular these days, and India is promoting millet exports as well. So try to find what could be your niche. Just don't come up with a, yeah, like we say, the, me too product.
So if you were to start a brand right now and you were to import into the UK or even to the US, it was a food brand specifically, what would you do?
If I was to start my own food brand.
Yeah, you were supposed to import your products. You have a manufacturer in India or another country. What, from all the learnings that you have, one of them's okay, maybe try and focus on being a little bit more healthy. I assume like showing the calories and, but are there any other things that you would do?
So, as I said, for me, again, you need to follow the industry news, and you need to follow what's there in the government, websites and such. Try to understand what's the industry trend. So maybe that's what I might do. And that's why I know millets is on trend these days. So you should always keep up to date on what's on trend in the industry, what's on trend in the market. And if you can see, if you can tap into that market. So again,
Right.
jackfruit I came to know because I saw a rising trend in 2018. That's why we
Right.
launched jackfruit products. So similar, if it was me now, I might research into what is the market for millet based products, or what's the market for those healthy noodles. So, what are the products that others are selling in the market? As I said, always see what your competitors are doing. You'll get a very good idea, because they've got the budget, they'll do all these kind of things. You just have to tag along with them, So I would research, I'll go into the shops and see what kind of millet products are being sold in the market. What's their
Okay.
price point? So those kind of things. Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Well, yeah, a lot of great information. I really appreciate all of the answers you gave today. I think that's all the questions I have, really. Is there anything that you would like to add as an ending note to my audience and perhaps your audience who's maybe watching this too?
Mm, nothing at the moment. So only thing I need to say is, like, if you're really passionate, as I said, keep on emphasizing, please do your research and understand if there are any restrictions, because you don't want to get stuck at the UK port or customs. So it's not a great experience. So yeah. So I
Right.
wish all the very best to all your audiences, and if they're starting in their import export journey.
Awesome. And how do people find you? Because I think you do consulting for people who want to start, right?
Yeah, so if I could leave my YouTube channel, so it's called Nisha Menon Business Talks. So they can follow me on YouTube channel, and then there are several videos which I have shared from my experience as well. What I also say, if they want to get in touch with me, they can drop me an email. Either they can follow me on Instagram, again Nisha Menon, drop me a message there, or they can drop me an email to nishamenon.uk@gmail.com. So they can get in touch, either one of these three platforms.
I'll make sure I put that in the description. So yeah, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate everything you've done, and keep it up. You've done a great job with your career and everything. And yeah, I think you'll keep doing very well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Yash, and it was a real pleasure to have shared my experience. And thank you so much for having me today.
Are you still there? Wow. Congrats. Most people can't stick around and pay attention for longer than 30 seconds. So if you're watching this, I want to share a little treat with you. I'm going to show you step by step on how you can start an import-export business. All you got to do is watch this video right here. It's another 30 minutes long, but I promise you it's going to show you step by step on what to do. See you on the other side.